Into this week, markets are sitting at key areas of liquidity across both Nasdaq, British Pound USD, and Euro USD. So the focus is simple. It's not about prediction. It's not prediction, but understanding where price is likely to draw next. Because market doesn't move randomly. Market moves from liquidity to liquidity, always seeking at something to react to and something to be drawn to. So starting from the Nasdaq, price is currently trading at a discount within our daily weekly range. And our weekly daily range, we are looking at the high within the 26 to 20 levels and it lows within the 22,651 levels. These are the daily range we are looking at on Nasdaq this week. Remember, price has already taken out the external range liquidity of the first external range of the weekly at the 22,969 levels of this daily range. So the next daily range becomes the 22,651 that we are looking at. And price reacted at the weekly volume gap, which is around the 23,955.7 levels. So if price continues to go higher from here, where are the likelihood price might get to? So the draw on the liquidity to the upside, then we'll be looking at first into the daily highs around the 24,550 levels. The next will be the daily order block, which is those 24,632 levels before we could be able to get to the monthly gap, which is around the 24,696 levels, and potentially, if continue, the order daily high around the 24,978.5. These are the areas to look out on the upside of Nasdaq, where price could possibly get to and react to. However, if price decided to go down, then the draw shifts to the downside. First of all, we'll be looking into the previous weekly low. If price decided to go up, price might likely get to this point first before it continues to go up. It might pull back to this level, the previous week low, which is the 23,495 levels. But then if price continue to go down, then another point we can look out for is the daily order block, the mean threshold of the daily order block, which we've mapped out this level of the 23,115.6 level before it could get to the daily gap. After maybe taking out the 22,750 level, the 22,650 levels, then the daily volume gap between the 22,991 levels will be next, the 23,074 to that of 22,991. If it continues, then this weekly external range liquidity low will be next. Then we'll be looking at the monthly imbalances at the level of 22,373 levels. So for Nasdaq, we track which side of liquidity is taken first. Then the opposite becomes a point of reaction for this to take place. That's the area. Remember, we are looking at this dealing range, within this dealing range, and we are tracking which side, both sides of the market, where price could possibly be reaching out for or reaching to, what price could actually be looking at those levels. Those are the area. So moving on to our next pair, which is British Pound USD. Also, price is trading at discount in British Pound USD. The narrative is simple. It's trading within the dealing range on the highs, which is the 1.3734 levels, and then the low, the 30.15 levels. That's the dealing range we'll be looking at on British Pound USD. And price is reacting from the weekly bullish order block, which is at the level of the 31.76 levels. That's 1.3176 levels on the British Pound USD. Now, what's the narrative on the downside? What could price possibly be looking out for on the downside? So our narrative is simple. If price is getting down, we expect price to run into this level, the 1.3176 level, which is our previous week low, before it could get to the daily lows at the 1.3159 levels, and then possibly the other block on the 3146 levels, before it could get to the fair value gap between the 3128 and the 3316. Those levels that we've mapped out are the areas, the other blocks, the fair value gap, the previous week lows, the old daily lows are the areas that price are likely to get to be drawn to. The next draw becomes a 36 level. So these are the area we are looking at, watching out for on the downside for British pound USD, where what is drawing price towards those area. However, if price continues to go higher, then meaning that we have a reaction on the downside, which is likely that previous week low, and then price will continue to get higher, the previous week low, and then the previous week other block mean threshold of the daily time frame. Those are the likelihood where price will get to, and then maybe continue to go up. If not, if price, so on the upside, what exactly our narrative? What are we looking at for? We're expecting price probably to run into this level, into the forehead fair value gap, the 3220 levels, and then the weekly, which also correspond with the daily order block, the 3223 levels. Then the next will be the daily order block, the 3339 levels that we mapped out, before it will get to the daily fair value gap, which is the 3448 to that of 3348 and 3358 levels, before these old highs of the daily, the 3467 levels. Again, we'll let price decide which liquidity it wants first. But these levels, both on the upside and on the downside, are the areas price will definitely reach for and react at this level that we've mapped out. That's our narrative on British pound USD, both to the upside and to the downside. Now, moving over to Euro USD. So what's our narrative? What are we looking at, both on the upside and on the downside of the market? Price is also positioned at discount within the weekly daily range on Euro USD. So the highs we are looking at for on Euro USD, for highs will be the 1.1928 highs, while the lows will be between the 1413 and 1394 level. Price is reacting from the daily bullish order block at the 1617 level on Euro USD. So what's our narrative if price continue to go down? What are the likelihood price might apparently get to or react to or run into? On the downside, we'll be looking into the 1509 level. That's a daily order block before the daily lows, which is the 1445. And if it continues down, the next will be the weekly low external range liquidity that lies between the 1413 to 1394 levels. But that price, however, decide to go up, that means we'll get a reaction also on the downside before price continue to go up. So the likelihood where price will be expanding to the upside or on the upside, we'll be looking at those levels first, the daily fair value gap, which we've already mapped out, as you can see, which is the 1549 to that of 1550 levels. Next will be the daily order block. We can see here, which is the 1553 levels. Then the daily order block are the 1617 levels before it could get to the old daily highs, the 1640 levels. And the next, if price continues, should be the weekly fair value gap, which falls around the 1617 levels. So these are the areas both on the upside, on the downside, where our narrative is being creating opportunities from downside and the upside level. So Euro USD remain balanced until one side of the liquidity is taken. Then the next will be the opposite. So across all pairs, the narrative is consistent. Price is sitting at key levels across all pairs, which with liquidity resting on both sides of the market, both upside and the downside. So going into the week, one thing is certain, we stay patient. We don't predict directions. No, we are only tracking liquidity and let price delivered. It's from one level to the next level of these areas. Remember, it's structure over speculation. Have a lovely week and happy Easter. Thank you.